Yep.
So moving forward, Malcolm and Marie, one of the newest films from Netflix that streamed this past weekend. It follows a man and a woman on the edge of breaking up as they lash out at each other following the man's from premiere. And the film stars Zendaya and John David Washington. Is directed and written by Sam Levinson. Now, Darius, you put on an interesting face there when I mentioned Malcolm and Marie. What were your thoughts?
I I am a Zendaya fan. I've always liked her. She's a great actress. I think she just hasn't had a lot of roles that can really show her true talents because I've been following her on Disney, and she was starting up, getting up there, and then she moved into Euphoria. Amazing series. And then when I see this, I'm like, yeah, Zendaya, she's up there because she was absolutely stellar in this film. Like,
Mm-hmm.
just performance wise, like if I'm gonna talk about performances in this movie right now, flawless, honestly. Like, they both John David Washington and Zendaya had such a great chemistry on screen that I really believed it. I believed their struggles. I believed their issues. And Zendaya, there's a certain scene that I don't want to spoil, but it's just it makes you show just how talented she is and
Yep.
just how good she is. And I think this is definitely going to be a movie that even elevates her even further. Like, if I had to say, honestly, either one of these, in my opinion, start of 2021 could get an Oscar.
I think it's possible.
Like,
Going on the
like I said, it's
performance,
possible.
going on the perform because again, I'm not sure exactly what the rules are as far as like the Oscars changing things around because of the pandemic when a movie had to be released in order
True.
to be eligible for the ceremony this year. But yeah, to take up your point on the performance end of this film, both Zendaya and John David Washington were absolutely phenomenal. They were phenomenal together. Their chemistry was terrific, and just goes to show like the amount of talent that they brought to these roles. They're the only two people in the movie, and they carried it.
Exactly.
They
And
were,
and this was filmed during the pandemic in
yep,
quarantine.
yeah, in secret during the pandemic. So I'm curious how they pulled that one off, how they managed to do that while everything else was shut down. But okay, I digress. But but no, each of them have memorable monologues. There's one particular monologue that John David Washington's character has about like one of the reviews that he reads about his film, and
Hmm.
he was basically just like tearing the reviewer a new one, and it was like a positive review, but like how he reacts to that positive review is absolutely
Exactly.
stunning. It's all about like painting people with like identities and stuff like that, putting people in a box because of like what background they have, and like the kind of ways that like people are supposed to like look at your films or whatnot. It was an amazing monologue, and he knocked it out of the park. And one of the things I will say too, still on the performance end for both of them, there is a line, of course, that steps into overacting, but like right
Yeah.
before that line is where you get an incredible performance, and that's exactly where those two are.
Yep. Exactly. Like they were both just performance wise great, and even the story and the messaging that Levinson was trying to iterate in this film, I honestly connect with that because it's like, at what point is it? Are they do they like it because as a film and as a artwork, or do they like it because of the color of the film?
Yep.
And I just think that because that's the movie, that's the premise. It's that conversation between these two, and of course, there's much more to it, and I don't want to get into specifics. But just in general, just how the cinematography really played with the fact of them being close but yet apart. Again, masterfully crafted.
Hmm.
The pacing, I thought I didn't have a problem with the pacing, and in the
Honestly,
beginning,
which is strange
yeah,
because it's a very compact setting. It takes place in one house, and I love it when a movie does that. Like I love movies like 12 Angry Men. Like they're just in one setting, and that you have more of an opportunity for the tension to build. And as nice and pretty and big as the house is, like it still has that very compact feeling to it. Like, oh, it's just these two people here in this one isolated space, and they make great use of that with the tension that they're able to build from the really just like tennis match conversations that the two have with each other,
hmm,
just like either like building each other up or tearing each other down. It's awesome to watch.
yep. And another thing to point out, in which I think can actually be a flaw but also a strength of this film, is the exposition used. And again, a lot of this they had to tell, and I think mainly because it was a pandemic. You can't really show a lot of even before the premiere or whatever. So you had to really. It was definitely dialogue heavy, and
Mm-hmm.
I was okay with that because it wasn't necessarily the dialogue, but it was always the intent behind the dialogue and how it's portrayed and how it's told. And you can tell through every single body language and emotion through the face that everything hit a certain way to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm fine with all of this exposition and dialogue because
Yeah.
the performance in the facial and the body language says it all. It
Yep.
says it all without having to go further. And in general, I didn't think like, and I didn't mind it being black and white too. You know,
Not at all.
I'm
I think
not.
that added to it.
It added to it, and I just think overall, as far as just the messaging, the narrative, the pacing, I thought this was a genius film. To be honest, in my opinion, this
Mm-hmm.
was just amazing on all fronts, and I truly can't wait to see John David Washington's career in the future going for
Mm-hmm.
further because this one was amazing. And again, I have to give it to Zendaya. I like Zendaya. She was from Disney, but seeing how her acting skills has elevated and really just how much authenticity and
Yeah, quote.
dimensionality exactly and dimensionality she brings to the character. You'll
He's
get
serious
what I
when he's
mean
saying
by
this, guys. He
that.
means it. I'm just being funny.
Yeah. Just seeing how much, and I was reading an article saying how the director and writer was like, yeah, I wasn't concerned when I'm writing this with black actors in mind. And if anything, this was more of a collaborative experience. And I always talk to them saying, hey, is this cool or whatever? So hearing that, it's like, okay, that's awesome because not. I don't think a lot of people would really do that in general. And it's like, hey, this is the script. Yes, you can collaborate, but like, I think him saying that he went to the extension where even they helped in ways to almost rewrite or write certain dialogue and scenes with him, I thought was fascinating. I think it really just showed, even in a small place, magic can really happen. And
Mm-hmm.
this movie was outstanding on all fronts. I virtually almost have no complaints, really. I don't really
Yeah,
have any complaints about this film.
which is interesting because like the views for this were actually very mixed, and I'm curious, and
Mm-hmm.
I honestly don't know why. And going back to what you were saying as far as like the dialogue and like how things felt a little too much like exposition. Um, I definitely understand that because there were times where the dialogue felt like just a bit too fluffy, just a bit overwrought.
Yeah,
As great as it was, if there were times where it felt like a bit overwrought, overwritten. But the way I see it, this story is about them in this moment, the point where their
exactly.
relationship is on the brink. It's not about like how a relationship falls overall, because if the story is about how the relationship falls and declines overall, then we would have needed to see those scenes and those moments where they're referring to in the exposition that happened before the film actually starts. But no, this film is about them in this moment on the brink of collapse, the two of them as a couple. So
Mm-hmm.
as far as the exposition, honestly, in this particular situation, it would bother me in other situations, but not in this one.
Yeah,
Like
it
in this
didn't
one, I
bother me
think it
too
was
much in this
necessary.
one. Yeah.
It was necessary in this one, but overall, I enjoyed this movie a lot more than I thought it was going to. I can't say I really had low expectations, but I didn't have particularly high expectations. I really just didn't know what to expect. I heard mixed
Yeah.
things about it. I'm like, all right, let me give it a shot. But no, this is well worth the hour and 46 minutes. I don't feel like I gave any time up
I wish it was
watching this
longer,
one.
honestly, because it was just so good.
Honestly,
But I
but here's
understood
the thing. I
why.
felt like if it was any longer, then I think it might have dragged just a bit. It might have been like
Yeah.
a little bit much.
I always
But
say longer just because I would like to see what happened in the premiere, other than being told. But I understood what they were going for,
yeah,
truly. And again, this was filmed during a pandemic, so it's not like they can film anywhere,
yeah, exactly.
So he had to get creative with his dialogue, with his camera work, with the crew, and with the cast. Only two people.
Hmm.
And it was just every single moment of this film, my heart just kept getting faster and faster. I'm just like, whoo! And then after a specific scene, I was like, yo, what in the
I
world
felt
is
that after
going
multiple
on?
scenes. felt that after multiple scenes. I'm like, oh my god, they just went there. Oh no, now the other one just went there. Oh
Yeah,
my god, they're on the ropes. Neither one knows what to do. Oh my god.
yeah, like it
It's
definitely
just-
happened multiple times, but there was just one moment that I was just floored, and I was just like, I had to pause it because my heart, I was like, "Whoo, boy,
it's like, what the
this
fuck?
is getting too intense. This is getting really intense."
But no, honestly, this is very. I highly recommend watching this, especially since it's on Netflix. If you have a subscription, you're not gonna have to pay anything extra. It's definitely worth the time. But overall, if any of you guys have seen this, like, let us know what you think in the comment section below.
Yeah.
So yeah, moving forward.